Oh boy, Superman video really took off. If you want, you can check out some of my other stuff. You know, it took me a long time to edit those gaming videos. This video is going to be very similar to the first Superman video I made, but just a little bit different. I'm not going to be analyzing all the categories like in the first episode, since my opinions haven't changed. I'm going to primarily be looking at the last half of the season and seeing how this added or detracted from the overall presentation of the show. I, however, will be touching up upon the categories of character, writing, and story as I go over each episode. And finally, I'm going to be splitting up my analysis into 3 parts, being episodes 6 and 7, 8 and 9, and the season finale, which I think works together since the 2 pairs of episodes lead into each other, and then the finale being the final episode, it's like the cherry on top. Spoilers for any shows I particularly mention in this script, and as well as any shows that I put on screen. Here are the ones that I ended up putting on the video.
Look, up in the sky, it's a bird!
It's a plane!
It's Superman!
Episodes 6 and 7 are smack dab in the middle of the season, and it definitely shows. If I'm being completely honest, these episodes could be taken out and nothing would change in the overall story. While episode 6 is important for the overall narrative as it repairs the relationships between our main trio, its crux being an introduction to the multiverse just comes out of nowhere and seems lazy. And despite most people, I'm not exhausted from the multiverse since it's quite literally an infinite amount of story potential due to the inherent definition of a multiverse. I, however, don't appreciate it being introduced to a show in Season 1. The events of episodes 6 and 7 are obviously leading up to some Superman vs. Evil Superman action in Season 2 and beyond, a la Injustice. But I definitely think that it could have been better shown to the audience than the best furry mecha power couple and an elite death squad composed of my dream harem, which I didn't think was even possible, but rest assured, my internet history has not been the same since this episode. Like, they seriously took the tomboy GF and made her even more of a tomboy GF. How do you even do that? Oh my god, how do you even do that? One issue that I do have is the resolution of episode 5's conflict in episode 6. It's just a little rushed due to how hurt Lois seemed. I think this mainly stems from Clark and how most narratives treat Superman as a character. While most Superman narratives treat Superman as some wild card that can be good or bad on a minute's notice, these narratives never actually portray him in this fashion, and he's never been portrayed like this, at least when we're talking about main continuity.
Think about it. You don't have any memories of your time as Pharaoh. So it stands to reason that you could have been an evil Pharaoh. Interesting. So what you're saying is that morality isn't cut and dry. Even the best people have a darker half to their personalities, and nobody is really perfect. No, I'm saying that having the ability to be evil makes you evil. Well, that doesn't seem right. Evil isn't right. It's wrong. Look, all I'm saying is bad. Just let me explain why I disagree with evil. It's just that nobody can be completely— Stop being so evil! Okay, so I guess this season was written by someone straight out of kindergarten then.
It's become the standard that Superman is one bad day away from turning into a maniac, that there are so many parodies of this character that are entirely about this concept. However, the point of Superman is that he's a good guy, and not just a good guy, but probably the best and most idealistic version of what people would even consider to be a good guy. And this show is trying to remind us that. So it's kinda hard to see this show taking inspiration from Injustice of all things. I get that Lois has been lied to, and that's fine, but the blatant assumption that he could be lying about liking her and lying about the entire basis of their relationship is just preposterous. Superman only truly debuts as soon as Clark steps into Lois's life. And while there are implications that he's been around and using his powers sparingly, there's nothing to imply that Superman is pulling a TF2 and disguising himself for a backstab. This entire situation either implies that Lois has an overinflated sense of self-importance, or that someone isn't using her noggin. And now that I look at episode 6, I can kind of see the overinflated sense of self-importance thing. I do, however, think that Jimmy takes some big dubs in this episode. He already knew Clark was Superman since the beginning of the show, and that just makes way too much sense to me, because realistically, if someone is really your best friend, you would either tell them about your demigod-like status, or they would just naturally find out. It also just makes Jimmy seem like this Sigma Chad that's just here for the ride, and I think that's the only characterization hilarious, but perfect for the tone of this show. As it stands right now, he has the perfect balance of a comedic gesture and a genuine side character that I think lots of shows are missing out on. I'm going to be talking about Jimmy more when I get to the final section of this video, being the season finale, but just right now, off script. Jimmy is shaping up to be one of those characters in the vague archetype character. Fuck me. Jimmy is shaping, like, fuck, I don't know how to describe it. I don't know how to put it into words. He's joining this category of characters that I really like, and I think most people also like, where they're good people, and if they were real people, you can actually imagine yourself hanging out with them and being friends with them in real life. One thing I do like out of this mini multiverse arc is the introduction of Mr. Mxyzptlk, of all characters. Batmite being a very similar character and archetype was in Batman Brave and the Bold, but I just didn't expect this character specifically to ever show up in forms of media outside of comic books, just due to the high-level concepts that come with the character. And while I don't think this show will ever touch upon anything relating to dimensional tiering and the fifth dimension, I'm very excited to see what he ends up doing. I also really like his redesign for some reason. For people who don't know, this is what he looks like in comic books, and this is what he looks like in the show. And he looks like an early Dragon Ball character, which I'm all for, considering that I like anime and the show is trying to be more anime aesthetic, without a lack of a better word.
Look, up in the sky, it's a bird.
It's a plane!
It's Superman!
Episode 8 and 9 are effectively the rising action of this season. Superman unlocks his super hearing and tries to track down the general that's been hunting him down, only to walk into a trap. This eventually results in him getting kidnapped and learning about Zero Day, finally culminating into a fight with Purple Guy and a citywide hurrah for Superman. Now, I'm gonna be completely honest and say that these two episodes have the most exposition and story beats out of the entirety of this show. These episodes are a giant cornucopia of lore for this universe, and while I don't think it's bad, I don't think it's very good. Obviously, it's good to finally learn about the previous Kryptonian activity on the planet, but the way we get to these revelations acts as a resolution to the first 7 episodes by bringing back all the jobber villains. Because of this, the episodes seem way too stuffed, and it feels like if you had that episode where Spidey fights the Sinister Six, and also the one where he ditches the black suit, all into one episode. There's just so much shit that is being dropped on us at a time, and I feel like we could have easily spread out these events to make it less stuffed. Seriously, these episodes even solidify the trio even more, considering how Jimmy and Lois end up by the end of it. And while I don't think these episodes explicitly affect the writing of the show, since the writing itself has remained very consistent and good, I just definitely think that this affects the pacing of the show. To better elaborate, I want to be clear that writing and pacing are very much linked together, especially when you're considering writing in its totality. How characters are written to interact with each other is writing, and how naturally it unfolds, either being as fast or as slow as the show requires these events to happen, is dependent on pacing. I noticed this when the show just started, assuming that the writers wanted to engage the TikTok and YouTube Shorts audience with how fast the story moves, but it seems like the momentum of the show is not slowing down. The clearest example being Lois and Clark's argument in totality happening and being resolved within 2 episodes. Even so, despite how fast the show's pacing is, we've spent so much time dicking around on nobodies that episode 8 and 9 are just so full of events, it feels like it's borderline fanfiction exposition. To be fair, I like all the things that happen in the span of these episodes, but I just think that we're rushing a little too fast. We learn way more about the General and his character, as well as Clark himself when they have their interrogation scene. The General's little mini arc about losing his status also highlights that he's less concerned about following orders and more invested in doing what actually helps other people. Clark's rematch with the Purple Guy is great, and I like how Jimmy and Lois use Jimmy's YouTube channel to help save the day. These are all great concepts on paper, but this consistent pacing issue creates a roller coaster of experiences, as the viewer either has to sit through the most eventful climax since Endgame, or a slice of life shonen adventure. Hopefully Season 2 will fix these pacing issues, since there's not much to prove anymore and the show already has its foot in the door, but I just don't think this issue is going to be fixed anytime soon.
Look, up in the sky, it's a bird.
It's a plane!
It's Superman!
And here comes the big one. Episode 10 wraps up the season by having Clark fight the remnants of Kryptonian technology left on Earth. After resolving the semi-alien invasion, he alerts an unknown alien race to the events transpiring on Earth. While he prevented the start of an invasion, he's only just reached the tip of the iceberg. Despite the grandiose scale of the finale, I love that as the audience we understand that Clark's troubles with other aliens has just begun. It makes him feel small in the grand scale of things, and I think that's perfect since Superman as a character has always meant to be characterized as a human with powers of a demigod, rather than an alien juiced up on Sunny D steroids. The finale feels like finishing the Great Plateau in Breath of the Wild. The huge quality you've been exposed to has just been the tip of the iceberg, and it's only gonna expand with time. This is only further exaggerated with the secondary drama of the episode that Clark has with Lois' father, who is revealed to be the general of the military that has been hunting him since the beginning of the show. And let me just say, personal drama in a superhero's life is very important when making the story. It creates a feeling that the main character is always forced to grow through constant challenge, whether it's being bullied in school or the more heavily exaggerated crime fighting. Some of the best, if not the best heroes just can't seem to catch a break. It just reinforces a factor of relatability that most of us find comfort in with this medium of entertainment. The twist pertaining to Lois' father is even foreshadowed in Lois' conversation with Clark in episode 4.
It's my dad.
Oh, you can take it if you need to.
No, it's fine. My dad and I, we don't talk. My whole life, he's kept things to his chest. His job, where we were moving next when I was a kid.
If you aren't familiar with families that work in the military, they have a reputation of frequently moving. I think this foreshadowing is great too, as without the proper context, this line isn't gonna click in your head as something that will be 100% brought up again later in the season. I'm not even gonna troll, I just love General Lane as a character. So far, he's the only character with depth that is recognizable due to what has been shown to the audience. He's not like Amanda Waller or the other council of Lois Lanes, where their depth is hidden but kind of revealed to the audience due to the context clues and half-assed flashbacks. We can clearly see how his character is torn between his own morality and the morality of the government he works for. Lane definitely is the best antagonist that this show has, and he barely even qualifies as one due to how he acts within the show. He seems way more like a misguided antagonistic force rather than an actual villain archetype that people will imagine. General Lane isn't the only character to get love in this episode. The Kenns as well as Lois and Jimmy get to display their best in the entire show so far in my opinion. While Papa and Mama Kenn haven't been present a lot in the show, it's not like I expect these parental figures to have a mainstay in the story. It's like, imagine having Aunt May get some sort of spin-off where she's a secret agent and... Oh fuck, I forgot that was a thing. I think Clark's parents are very important for any type of Superman story, but even more so for this version of Clark specifically. They effectively act as his introduction to the human race, and it's very important that we at least get to see them in any type of capacity. Mama Kenn is definitely a mama bear, as she's so giddy for Clark and his future, but so willing to shit on General Lane. And I love that while there's this entire sitcom drama happening, Papa Kenn is just in the other room like, I wonder when my turkey's gonna come out of the oven. I definitely think they should be around in Season 2. I don't know if I would want them around anymore since Jimmy and Lois do a better job at supporting Clark on a general level, but they should at least be around for when Clark confronts Jor-El's ghost AI hologram because, oh boy, that's definitely gonna be a thing. Jimmy and Lois also get great screen time here. While it obviously makes sense for Lois to step into the spotlight in this episode more than usual, since this episode is about her father as well as her budding relationship with Clark, I low-key think Jimmy carries the fuck out of this episode. I have no idea why they let Jimmy cook so hard, but they did. Another instance of miscommunication was about to happen, but the Chad Cell Jimmy decides to nip it in the butt and force everyone to talk to each other. Not only does he just become a social butterfly, but it's clear that his awareness specifically comes from his mini arc around the middle of the season. His interactions with Clark and Lois have made him a better person, and because of this, he's helping out his friends where he sees fit. He also just randomly becomes PewDiePie and drops it on everyone, super casually, just out of nowhere, yeah, I'm suddenly a gajillionaire and the best side character in this whole show. This show once again proves that it does its character work well, and it's definitely the best part of this show. And with that, my thoughts on the entirety of this show as it stands right now is complete. Very similar to my conclusions in the first video. I'm excited for what's next to come, and welcome the show's return with Season 2. However, unlike the first episode, I'm going to say for the record that this show needs to fix its pacing and work on making all of its characters, especially the villains, have a stake in the plot as good as the main trio and General Lane. Like, can we fucking do something with Deathstroke already? He's supposed to be this super badass dude right now, but he's just fucking Justin Hammer with military training. It doesn't help that the show is clearly waiting to dogpile more villains into this shit. If My Adventures with Superman Season 2 fixes its semi-cooked characters and its rushed pacing by splitting its main plot into smaller digestible segments and interspersing it with semi-filler content equally, then this show might just be goated enough to solidify itself as a quintessential Superman show, which is something this character needs considering its offshoots are getting more general representation outside of comics and respect than the OG Big Blue as of right now. Thank you for watching the video and staying until the very end if you did. Let me know in the comments what you think about My Adventures with Superman, as well as where the show is headed for in Season 2. Just off the script, I want to say thank you again for supporting the first My Adventures with Superman video that came out. I don't know if this video is gonna blow up like that one, but that video got 1,000 views, and I really appreciate it. It's the most I've ever gotten out of any YouTube video I've ever made before, ever. And yeah, thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this one that came out too. I'm also very sorry that this episode came out late, or not episode, video. I'm sorry that this video came out late. It was supposed to come out way earlier. I had the script that was used for this video drafted pretty much the day after Season 1 ended, and I wanted to record everything, but I couldn't because school started and I need to focus on that. But rest assured that there's going to be another video coming. More videos are going to be coming. So far, I have a video essay about a manga adaptation of one of my favorite animes in the pipeline. As soon as I finish the manga, and the manga's not very long, I'm almost done with it actually, but as soon as the manga's done, I'm going to be working on that, and as far as I can see, maybe I'll do some work on Invincible, since Season 2 is coming out, and it can fill that Superman hole, Lamel. But other than that, if I find something that I like, I'll make a video about it. I'm not going to make videos on games, not for now anyway. There's not many games that are out right now that I want to play, because Spider-Man 2 is PS5 exclusive, and I don't want to buy a PS5. I'll just wait for it to come out on PC. And the only other game I'm interested in right now is Persona 3 Reload, but that's going to come out next year, so expect gaming to come back maybe next year. But right now, remember, manga video is coming, a manga review video is coming. It has a very niche audience, so I don't know, maybe they'll find it. But again, thank you again for supporting me. I really appreciate it, and I hope you continue to support me if you're listening to this. Thank you.